Bowing to the mob comes with consequences. As the campus caliphate tries to regroup, the Dems are worried that the keffiyeh-clad clowns will cause mayhem at the DNC in Chicago this summer. Dean Phillips, I didn't know he was a dean, is outright calling for the thing to be canceled.
So there's time to course correct.
Was in Chicago, the Democratic convention. You think it could look a little like that?
I think it can, and frankly, I think it would be in the best interest of the Democratic Party to forego the convention this year and focus on campaigning, because I don't see any way it can be accretive to the mission of winning the next election.
The dilemma for the DNC. Folks fear that Chicago Mayor Brandon Johnson will defend the protesters. In a recent interview, Johnson stopped short of committing to remove encampments should they appear in the run-up to the convention. Jesse, this feels like fun. Don't you love Mayor Johnson?
I love Mayor Johnson now. I said a bunch of nasty things about him all last year. I've completely changed my opinion. Power to the people. They have a right to protest. They should not be pushed to the side. I think the people have a right to be heard. And that is the kind of leadership I think Chicago needs.
Wow.
That was a fake opinion. But the Democrats are worried about Mr. Johnson because he is going to be a big problem. You need the convention for two reasons, Greg: sex and money. Everybody goes to these conventions once every 4 years. A bunch of Democrats, they get all, it's just like all beautiful and lascivious, and they exchange ideas and spit. And you can't take that away from people. They call it the Democrat Party. It is a party. Someone's going to have to get excited about Joe Biden. This is the time. Don't take that away from them, and don't take out all the beautiful, expensive contracts that Chicago gets from this convention.
Right. That's true, Judge. You got to have the convention or the protesters win.
Well, and you know what? And Pritzker has certainly paid his dues. It's time for them to go to Illinois. Look, here's the thing. I think it's very interesting where Dean Phillips, he says we should forego the convention. I mean, maybe forego it in Chicago, but foregoing the convention, I don't know that it makes any sense. I agree with Jesse. I think it's very important for people to be able to party. But, you know, the sad part about Brandon is that he will clearly bow to those people who are protesting. Who knows what the protest, though, is going to be about in August, the end of August, right? So they're assuming it's going to be a wild and crazy place. The problem is that Chicago, the residents of Chicago, can't stand Brandon Johnson. I mean, when they revolted, they didn't want sanctuary cities. He used a parliamentary maneuver to squelch a referendum to allow Chicago voters to weigh in on that. So he doesn't much care for his own citizens. He's into any kind of radical revolution. So bring it on.
You know, Marie, it's interesting how at these conventions or any kind of Democrat thing, there's always protesters. It doesn't really happen when Republicans have conventions. Is it because you guys always cave, just like you did in the homeless situation?
Thank you for bringing that back up, Greg. I appreciate that. I mean, look, the chaotic convention, the last one I remember was 2016 when it was inside the Republican convention hall and people didn't want Trump to be nominated and there was a lot of infighting there. I actually don't think conventions matter that much. And I think that if you, especially the fact that we're going to have a debate in June between these two men, the convention's not for another few months. So I think that the convention will be fine. There will probably be some protests, and we should all remember that the reason they're protesting is because Joe Biden has been so supportive of Israel. And that is something he wants to run on. They just announced a new $1 billion arms package this week. And so if there are parts of this country that are on the left, far, far left, that want to protest, like Joe Biden, they're protesting him for something he wants to brag about, right? His support for Israel. So I also would remind people there's
on Monday he doesn't want to brag about it.
Right.
On Wednesday he does want to brag about it.
And Congress,
it's not very consistent.
Congress makes the decision.
He has been so consistent since October 7th. One time he held back a few bombs because the Israelis were about to massacre a bunch of children.
I don't want to waste my time.
I have a quick question for you, Dana. Who's your favorite Brandon? Mayor Brandon Johnson or Brandon Walsh from Beverly Hills 90210?
Oh, I'm trying to think. There's a guy.
No, it has
Plays
to be.
hockey. Oh, okay. The 90210 guy.
Yeah, is that Jason Priestley?
Yes.
I don't know, man.
Yes.
I don't know. A couple of things here. I think that Republicans risk lowering the bar so much for Democrats that if they do have a convention, it's like, wow, this is so great for Biden. He didn't have protesters. And also, on the one hand, I think that the comparisons to 1968 are very overwrought. I mean, at the time, Martin Luther King Jr. was assassinated. RFK was assassinated. Vietnam was full on, and
Yep.
that was the debate. This is a different situation in that you do have people who feel strongly about support for Israel, but if the Democrats can't figure out a way to deal with that problem and they can't deal with campus crazies, that's a concern. One issue is that you have a lot of money going into funding these protests. Where's the money coming from? And also you have social media that is figuring that out. For both conventions, just remember, it's not local police that handle the security, it's the U.S. Secret Service. So I think everything's going to be fine.
All right. Well, good job there, Dana.
Thank you.
Hey, Sean Hannity here. Hey, click here to subscribe to Fox News YouTube page and catch our hottest interviews and most compelling analysis. You will not get it anywhere else.